Hey, great. Then let's start. Welcome to our webinar of our new lockup release update. Today I want to show you all the features of our release 5.3. The title is today AI Guidance to Certification. And like always, I want to show you a quick agenda, what I want to show you today. So today it's actually quite exciting. We have many new topics that we need to actually cover today. And yes, the agenda items are the following. So first topic, I mentioned it, I think, already in the last release notes that we are working on this AI agent, or that you can also chat with our AI agent. And this is now finally done. I think we showed the first prototype of this in the conference in Munich. And now we were finally able to finish everything that it's available for everyone. So this is one big topic what I want to show you today. Then additionally, we also implemented now finally a training center. So as you know, we have our regular on-demand trainings where you can dial in also for free, and our trainers will show you how the supply chain apps works. Now we have additionally our training center where you can take tests and to achieve also certificates depending on your needs and on your schedule. And this is our new training center that I will introduce today. Then additionally, we also did many updates on the supply chain apps itself. I will only show you the 3 of them. All the other I will just quickly highlight in our release notes. But what I want to show you in the webinar today is the Network Design Plus enhancement. We have now finally the possibility to group customers. This means, for example, this was also a request that came actually from you, from our customers that we implemented. You now have the possibility to create a customer group. And this means that, for example, all these customers in the customer groups are then fulfilled by the same warehouse. This one we enhanced in the Network Design Plus. Then we also did some adjustment in the Milkrun Optimization Plus. There we added the possibility that you can also model now time windows on a depot level, what I will show you. And then we also enhanced our CO2 emission calculations. There we made a rework of the algorithm behind. We have now a higher and quicker performance. And this was also quite a major update from a technical perspective. Okay, then yes, like always, we have this Q&A section in the webinar. Feel free to ask your questions, and the team will try to answer them directly. During the webinar itself, I will also pick up the question again, and then we can take a look at some of the relevance directly together in the call. Okay, then let's directly jump to the platform, or actually to the Excel, where you can have the direct link to the platform. Let me quickly go here to the Excel add-in. I have it already open. So as you know, I want to show you now the chat. The chats are located on the Locker platform. The Locker platform you can either reach through the Excel add-in like I just did now, or whenever you have here this link saved, and then you can also access the platform always directly through the browser. Yes, this new chat features, this is actually available on the platform on multiple places. One of the prominent places is here on top where we have the home. We now also have here chats besides the projects and the workspaces. When I create, for example, such a chat, it is similar like you are used to ChatGPT and other AI agents. We open here this command prompt, and where we can ask actually the agent some questions. So the agent behind is actually trained on top of our documentation that I presented already in the last release update. I will also show it again later. For example, here we have some topics, some sample questions. Here we make, for example, now a comparison of the center of gravity and of the advanced center of gravity app. And we told him, okay, please provide us here a tabular comparison of both features. Yes, so then like you're used to, you can, now we have here the first result. Now we have here, for example, like mentioned, a comparison. What is the difference between center of gravity and advanced center of gravity? And then you can also ask additional questions, right? For example, here, when I'm now, for example, interested in the fixed center of gravity in addition, fixed. And you can just continue the chat and ask some more details. And now, if everything works, he should extend us this table with the fixed center of gravity. So he is still thinking. Now he is done. And now he enhanced us here, for example, this comparison also with the fixed center of gravity. Where this AI agent is quite helpful, whenever you need to know some details about the app, how it works and so on, or what is the input, you can ask him. You can also use, like showed here, this high level comparison. But for example, you can also ask him, let's ask him about a detail about the input of the fixed center of gravity. So he should also be able to answer this one. And now he explains us which columns, what is relevant for the fixed center of gravity and so on. What is important, this agent itself is trained on this supply chain apps documentation. So we will always update the supply chain apps documentation whenever we change something. And this will actually also update then the model of the agent itself. So again, like showed last time, if you want to take a look at and read the documentation without using the agent, or just to read all the details about the application, you can come here. We have the different structures. We also reworked in this release a couple of, based on your input, there were a couple of topics regarding the navigation, not correct. This one we also adjusted. And yes, I hope that this chat helps you to understand the app, to get quicker to your result that you actually want to achieve. And this is the idea behind. From a technical perspective, the chats, whenever you create them here, they are landing here in the upper left corner. If you can treat them actually in the same way like any map, dashboard, or data set. It's actually, like we call it internally, technically, it's an entity. And this entity you can, for example, also move to a workspace. Let's quickly create first a workspace. Sorry, I forgot this. So today we have the Log Hub 5.3. And now we have here this workspace. And this was our chat with our comparison. And now I have the possibility to move it also into this new workspace that we just created. 5.3. Whenever I move it to a workspace, I directly am in this workspace and I can have it here. So if you have a project and you, for example, ask the AI agent some explanations, how you should work or analyze the topics, you can also have this chat of the AI agent here in your workspace. And also you have the possibility to directly create in the workspace itself a chat, right? You don't have to use this functionality, what I just showed. That you go here on top to the plus button and ask and hear the question. You can go directly in here, and then you can, for example, ask him. You can, so I just did a couple of test questions here, but if you have, for example, a certain scenario, you can also explain it in here, and then he can give you an idea which apps are actually helpful or useful and so on. And again, you can also go then really into detail. So here, when you do a network design study, yes, it makes sense to either use, obviously, network design would be the most advanced already, advanced center of gravity, location planning, or fixed center of gravity. Flow visualization could be also helpful. And this kind of topic you can ask now our agent. So for sure, if you have any additional questions and you are stuck, feel free to reach out to our support or via our chatbot. This is all still available. It's just an additional feature where we try to help you to get familiar with our application as soon as possible. Okay, perfect. So this was the first feature what I wanted to show you today. Are there any questions at the moment in the question room? Should we take there anything up, or can I continue?
No, we can continue. At the moment, we don't have any questions.
Okay, perfect. Then we can directly continue with the next topic with our training center. So the training center, this is actually totally new. We didn't have this before. Here on top, besides, I showed you last time the supply chain apps documentation, also today in the webinar again, and now we have here also the training center. If you go to the training center, you see that you have the possibility to take the tests of the different applications from our apps. And then if you take the tests, you can also reach certain certificates. The tests itself are structured by the modules like we normally structure our apps. So we have here the geo modules, then we have the network design, and the transport optimization, predictive analytics, and the warehouse analytics. And here are all applications where you can take a test. We will also start soon one. And then down here, currently we support that you can reach 6 different certificates. You can make the certificates supply chain apps basic. If you want to check what you need to fulfill to reach a certificate, you can show here the details. So for example, for the basics certificate, you need to do the training or the tests of supply chain map, distance calculation, geocoding, isochrone, center of gravity, fixed center of gravity, last mile, and forecasting ARIMA. And then, for example, so in total, you have to fulfill 8 tests. If you want to go, for example, for the advanced certificate, then you would need to fulfill everything that you have in basic. As you can see, I fulfilled already 2 tests. That's why these 2 tests are counted here, here, and here, because everything that is in basic, you also need to fulfill, for example, for the advanced certificates. Similar with the export. In the export, you need to have everything from the advanced and the following apps in addition. How can you, so the easiest way to start with the test is either you go directly to the training center and you can take a test. So for example, here, I just started already the supply chain map training test before. I answered 3 out of 12 questions, and then I actually stopped. So if you want to, for example, to continue, you can just say here, continue test, and then let's check if I know the answer, which data input type is special. So this should be normally a relation. If you have a correct answer, then you get directly also the explanation. Let's provocate, for example, a wrong answer. Should be areas, but let's say purpose C route. Then you get here, for example, an incorrect answer. If the answer is incorrect, you can only continue. It's not like that you can directly correct this question. But if you are, for example, done with the test and then you passed him or didn't pass him, then you can also retake the test. But if you will pass the test if you have a certain percentage reached. So if I'm not mistaken, but correct me guys if I'm wrong, I think it's 80%. That you need to reach, but correct me if I'm wrong in the background. So I'm not sure if it's 80, but definitely in this area. So for example, here I reached 92 correct answers, then it shows, okay, I answered correctly 11 out of 12, but this was enough to actually pass the test then. Yes, and then one more topic, whenever you pass the test and you reach then finally the certificates, first of all, you can view the certificates, you can download it, and you can also share it on social media, or you can also add it, for example, to your LinkedIn profile if you want to. This is then only available if you reach actually the certification here. Then maybe one more topic. It is relevant for the test itself. You will also see it in the questions that you are able to pass the test. You also need to do certain calculations. So so it's not only possible to finish all the quiz with the documentation itself. You need to also do then a calculation, for example, with certain settings, and answer then the result based on the result of the application itself. So, for example, one of the questions is then if you generate then the template, do a calculation, and you will have then certain questions, for example, to a dashboard of an output or even to the maps. So this is how we make sure that you are actually really able to use the application itself. And what I wanted to show you also from here, what we also did, we did a small redesign of the menu here, because we need to have the possibility to take a look at the video like in the past, or if you want to talk to an expert, this is our chatbot like we had from the past still. This is also available. Here we have now a link directly to documentation, and here you can also go now directly to the test of the distance calculation. So if you click here, you will go directly to the test in the distance calculation app. So if you are working on a distance calculation, then you can click this button and you are at the test. If you need some additional help for it, then you can also take a look at the documentation. So everything that is asked in the test itself should be possible to answer with our documentation, plus with some calculations that you need to do to fulfill the topics. Yes. Yeah, here the idea was that you can take this tests and certificates on depending on your own time, whenever you have time to do it. We still have our regular training topics. We will still have our training calls where we make the web sessions so that you can join for free if you have a pro account. We will still continue. We just built this feature that you have an additional option to acquire the knowledge that you need for the supply chain apps. Yes. Okay. So then this was actually the topic what I wanted to cover regarding the training center. Are there maybe any questions in the room, or can I continue?
Yes, so actually we received one question. So does this solve the real world dynamic scenarios of route optimization? If yes, how is it better than the in-house tools used by companies as of today?
Okay, can you maybe sorry, I didn't fully understood the question. What was it about the real? Can you maybe repeat?
Yes.
Maybe we can also open it. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I think that it's easier, right? It was in the Q&A section or in the questions?
In the questions in the chat.
The real world dynamic scenarios of route optimization. So to be honest, I don't fully understand the questions. Maybe you can give us some more detail and we take it up later, because I'm not sure how is the training center related to the route optimization. So I will come to the route optimization, the topics later. But I don't, or Jelena or someone else, can you give me the background about this one?
Yeah, let's see whether we receive a more detailed
Yeah, exactly.
question.
So we will come to the topics regarding the route optimization. So the idea about this additional feature, so the only thing I can imagine it's regarding this question, right? Milkrun Optimization Plus enhancement, time window for depots. So the reason why we enhanced this was actually also one customer request to be more realistic and to model, for example, the opening hours of the depot itself. But I will come to this topic and then we can maybe take this question up. Okay, good. Then let's maybe directly jump to the next topic regarding the Network Design Plus enhancements regarding the customer groups. Therefore, I directly want to model with you an example in the Network Design Plus app itself. So let's first create here in the Network Design Plus the sample data set. The column that has actually changed now is in the customer table. And in the customer table, we have now here this customer group. Okay. Let's for now run the calculation itself. So I try to explain this feature already when I explained the agenda, the idea or the customer request. So it was a request from a couple of customers actually was here that it sometimes, if you do a network design optimization, it is relevant to group some locations together because maybe these locations belong to one customer. That's why we call it customer group. And even if it sometimes makes geographically no sense to fulfill, for example, certain locations from a certain warehouse, out of practical use case, it just sometimes totally makes sense because you only want to keep the goods from these customers at one warehouse, for example. Or you only have certain additional services at one warehouse, and this you only want to offer for this customer group at one warehouse. And all these topics you can model now with this customer group. I will quickly make an example on the map itself. I just used the sample data, and this is the result. So the result of the optimization are two warehouses, okay? One warehouse is here in Germany in Fulda, and the other warehouse, this one is here actually in Darmstadt. When we take a look at the customers itself, for example, this customer with the number 0132, it makes totally sense that we assign this to this warehouse geographically. The same topic, for example, here with this customer, 171. But now here I can make the example. Let's assume that these two customers belong actually to the same customer and should receive the same services. If I want to have it now that these two customers are fulfilled from the same warehouse, independent if it makes from a geographical perspective sense, I have now the possibility to use this customer group. Therefore, I need to assign these two customers to one group. So let's quickly do this. Let's search here for this one customer. Let me enhance this column that you can see it. So here we can say now A. That's just, you can define any name, right? So it's just grouped then on this column. I just named the customer group A. Then let's go back to and let's take this customer here too. And when we have now this customer, we can also assign it to the same group. Now let's do the calculation again. Now let's zoom in. Now we see already here a different assignment, right? This is the customer. He was assigned before to this warehouse, and now I'm not sure if this is visible. It's assigned now here to the warehouse here in Darmstadt. Here and obviously, so this customer is still assigned to Darmstadt. warehouse name is Darmstadt, exactly. And when we click here, also here now the warehouse name is now also Darmstadt. So here we forced now the optimizer to group these two customers together, and the fulfillment needs to be done by this warehouse. And obviously this you can also do with multiple customers and so on. And it doesn't have to be the only topic what you need to consider. If you have, for example, really big customer groups, so for example, this one should be not a problem. But if you have big customer groups that, for example, would violate then some other constraint, for example, the maximum handling units or the maximum weight that you can handle from a warehouse, then you would also get, for example, a warning message or an error message that we cannot fulfill the customer group because of this and this criteria. In this run, for example, I added now randomly a couple of customers to this group A. And when we open the map, then we will see actually that there are multiple assignments done that are maybe not fully logically. So for example, here is another one. Here in the north is also assigned to Darmstadt. Even geographically, it would make, and distance-wise, it would make more sense to fulfill him from there. So this is now actually possible with this customer group. Again, the use case behind is mainly if you want to make sure that all locations from one customer are served actually from one warehouse. And then you can have now the possibility to model this one. Okay, perfect. Are there maybe any additional questions, Jelena, that I should take up, or can we continue?
No, at the moment not. Yeah, we can continue.
Okay, great. Okay, so then besides the Network Design Plus enhancement, we also did some enhancement in the Milkrun Optimization Plus. And here we actually enabled the time window for the depots. This was also a feature that was requested by our customers that we implemented. So technically, it's actually quite, let me quickly go first to the app and show you the regular input. I prepared for this case a special use case, what I want to demonstrate. But let's quickly explain what changed here in the Milkrun Optimization Plus. So in the Milkrun Optimization Plus, we have now one additional column. Here under depots, we have now a time window profile. The time window itself, you need to fulfill in the time window table in here. So here, as you can see, a time window, like it also was before, can exist of multiple legs that are actually possible to fulfill a certain time window. And then you can reference back to this time window here. And to explain you actually the effect, I prepared some data where we have a smaller example that it's easier to explain. What I did here, I used actually also the sample data request, and let's quickly connect the data first again. So I used the sample data, but I removed some vehicles. So I only have 2 vehicles available, or let's say 2 vehicle types available. And as you can see, I also reduced the pickup and delivery orders. Window profile. The time window profile I also reduced. I only have 2 time window lines here. And the break profiles, I left them here. Okay, so the case what I want to actually achieve with this topic now is the following. Let's assume we have the warehouse open, for example, for a longer period. Okay, for example, we have the loading time is open for 3 hours from 9 p.m. in the evening to 11 p.m. in the evening. And I want to show you something because there's one case what you can also do with this one that was also often requested by the customer. It's actually the topic that the route optimization itself is trying to minimize the costs, right? And each vehicle has a certain fixed cost. And that's why the optimizer is trying to utilize the vehicle as best as possible. So here, for example, I built up specifically a case that I want to demonstrate. He is now able to deliver everything with one vehicle, right, with one route. But as you can see, he is delivering here 64 pallets. And the interesting part is, even if he is delivering 64 pallets, 1 second, need to go to the input. The maximum pallets is 60 that the vehicle is allowed to deliver. So many of you confirmed this also to us, that this is sometimes a bit tricky, this kind of modeling, that the result, what is actually the output, because what is actually happening, because the vehicle has a fixed cost. When you take a look at the route, he is loading at the depot in Zurich, he is delivering the goods at the first stop, then he is heading back again to the depot in Zurich, loading the rest of all the goods and is delivering everything. So this is actually the possible, because he is trying to minimize the usage of the vehicle, right? What also makes sense, for example, if you have a fixed price of a vehicle of a day, you really want to utilize the vehicle under all restrictions the best way, because we are minimizing the costs. To use actually a separate vehicle would increase the fixed cost, because each vehicle has a certain fixed cost. And then, but sometimes it is the case that in your optimization, you don't want to have this, and you want to, for example, have, okay, whenever the vehicle is leaving once the depot, he should not come back anymore. And one modeling topic that you can, for example, so this opening hours in the depot is in general anyways helpful, because you need it, because sometimes the depot is just not available, and then you don't want that the goods are loaded in the vehicle. But now you also have here, for example, the possibility, if we reduce this now to 22, then we also don't allow the vehicle to reload again. So what the optimizer needs to do now, he needs to add an additional vehicle. If we take a look here at the vehicle, you can see we have fixed cost of the vehicle of 200. This means he is forced now to take a second vehicle, but sometimes in some optimization case, this is exactly what you want to achieve, right? So now, as you can see, we have now, if I do the calculation with the different time frame, you can see that we have now 2 vehicles in use. They are both loaded at the depot, and then they are delivering their goods. So, and then in total, also the whole pallets, I think it was 64 pallets, can be delivered, even if the load of one truck is only 60. So this means he needs to take now, to fulfill this orders, he needs to take 2 vehicles for this one. So this means this is the feature of this time window. So you can use it for multiple cases. You can, for example, just make sure that when you want to model a certain opening hours in the depot and the other times is not no operating hours, it's helpful. But also for this case, if you want to enforce that the vehicle is not loaded, you could also use this kind of modeling trick here. Yes, okay. So this is actually the topic what I wanted to show you regarding the Milkrun Optimization Plus. Are there any questions in the route? And I hope this maybe answered the question that we had before.
Yeah, so at the moment, still no additional questions.
Okay. So, and I hopefully this answered also the question before. Yes, this should make the planning of the route optimization more realistic to day-to-day use cases. Okay, good. Then let's quickly jump back. I actually, before I jump to the CO2 emission enhancement, I wanted to show you really quick something on the platform itself. I forgot because I mentioned we have everything in our release notes, what we adjusted. So here under the help center, right? When you go here in the help center itself, then we have here our release notes, and there you always have done all the updates that were updated in this release. So in the webinar itself, I only highlight some of the topics, but here you have all the updates in detail. There is one more topic, or actually two more topics, what I wanted to highlight. This is the CO2 calculation and also some update in the center of gravity. The CO2 calculation I make as a second one. Let's quickly do this dashboard adjustment in center of gravity, because this was also requested by our customers. If you take a look now here at any center of gravity app, doesn't matter, then there was the wish that we make some enhancement in the dashboard. As you maybe know, in the dashboard of the center of gravity, we have a box plot in there. And there we got the feedback that it's sometimes a bit difficult to compare really the parameters of the box plot. The issue was the following: whenever you hover here over a box plot, you also get all the details, but they wanted to have the possibility to be able to really in one view to be able to compare the results of the box plot. That's why whenever we have now a box plot in any of our dashboards, we introduced now this table. And this table are now exactly the details of the box plot itself. So whatever you see here on top in the hovering, you can also see now here below in this table. Yeah. Was it just a small enhancement? But whenever you see something that could be maybe a bit more helpful, please let us know. We try to realize it as soon as possible. So this was this topic. And then we come actually to the last item from today. This is our CO2 emission enhancement calculation. So we did some restructuring of our CO2 emissions app. So if you go here to the, one second, I need to find it, CO2 emissions, then the app itself looks the same, right? We don't have any change there. We are still working on some enhancement that makes you the calculation more quickly and easier. But here we introduce now again the rail mode with a different API in the background or different calculation method that enables us to calculate the results quicker. So we did a redesign of the backend. And therefore, itself, so technically, there is quite a big difference behind, but for you as an end user, you will have the same interface. And now we also have then the possibility to do the CO2 calculations with an API. And we can handle just the higher data load in this area. So this was also actually an update. We have a faster CO2 emission calculation that was actually especially helpful for some of our customers who do some heavy calculations, also in combination with the 9 nodes. If you are interested how to get to the 9 nodes again, just quick topic. If you go here on the platform and you go then here under manage account, continue anyway, then you go here to integrations. And then you have here either the API documentations, and here you also have then the 9 nodes. And here we also have then the possibility. Here you can get all the 9 nodes and integrate them and calculate with them, and the other details of the API itself you can receive here under this link. Yes. So exactly. And now with this new update of the CO2 emissions calculation, so this issue that we had before with the data load should be fixed. Okay, so these were actually the main topics what I wanted to cover today. Are there any open questions in the round that we need to take up?
So we did have where to access the API, but you just showed us, and we just received an additional question. I think that I did not understand the improvement in the network design. I mean, the new column. What is exactly the purpose of customer group? Could you give me a brief summary or the objective of this new column, please?
Yeah. Okay. Good. Sure. Let's go quickly back to this table. So the Network Design Plus app. So the request behind this, so the column that we added is here under the customer table, right? We have one customer. The topic was the following. Even if you have here, we name it here customer table, but these customer tables are locations, right? So they are physical locations. and sometimes to one customer belong multiple locations. And then when we did currently an optimization run, the optimizer tried to allocate the assignment between the customer locations, are the blue dots, to the warehouse, to the yellow one, based on the transportation costs. So the transportation costs are often or most of the time also related to the geographical distance here, right? But then we had the case or the demand by some customers that they had the problem that multiple of these locations, they should be actually grouped, right? For example, if I have here this customer and I have here 3 customers, it totally makes sense to assign this customer to this warehouse here from a geographical and also cost perspective. And all these customers here, it makes sense to assign to this warehouse. But the requirement was then additionally that I want to be able to group some customers and to make sure that these customers are only served by one warehouse. So one of the conditions why do you want to do something like this, it could be the following, that you want to keep the stock for all of these locations for this one customer at one location. This is why it can be helpful to build actually this customer group. So if you take then a look at the optimization result, geographically, it does not make any sense to assign this customer to this warehouse, but from an operative perspective, because you only want to keep the stock at one location, for example, it can make sense. And before we didn't have a possibility to influence the optimizer to do this groupage of a couple of customers together and force them to be fulfilled by one warehouse. What the optimizer does then for sure, he is still deciding what is the cheapest topic or what is the cheapest solution or the cost efficient solution to fulfill this customer group from which warehouse. This decision is done. And then, for example, it can happen that the customer where it's geographically would totally make sense to serve from this warehouse will be served from another warehouse. So this should be actually the idea behind. Or what I tried to explain was why is now this customer served by this one, because I enforced it with the customer group. But the usage itself, like it was requested by some of our customers, was that they want to make sure that some locations are always served together from one warehouse. This was the idea behind. Okay, I hope this helped to explain the use case behind this network design optimization. Then let me quickly go back to the chat itself. Okay, so now I think it's clear. Okay, perfect. Are there any other questions that we need to clarify?
At the moment, I don't think so, yeah.
Okay, perfect. If not, then thank you very much for your time. Like always, when we end the webinar, you will also get, everyone who signed up will get a link for the recording. And there's one topic what I also want to show you. If you go again to the release notes itself, you also have the possibility, sorry, now I don't remember where I opened them. Here, to the release notes itself, here you also always have the link to the webinar of the current release. So if you want to take, for example, a look at the release 5.2, what I explained here, you can just click here, then you get to actually do the same link that you actually receive now later on from this recording. So obviously only after recording we can enhance this and that this is also available together. Okay. Good, perfect. Then thank you very much for your attention and I wish you a nice day. Thank you. Bye.